Hi guys, I Aziz welcome you to CoedMaster, and in this video I am going to talk about dependency relationship in object-oriented programming. In this video I will explain what is dependency relationship and how to model dependency relationship using UML. So if you are willing to learn dependency relationship, then this video is for you. So make sure to watch this video till the end. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Alright guys, let's begin this video with the very first question, that what is dependency relationship? Well, it is a kind of relationship which represents dependencies between objects or real world entity. I think the best way to understand this relationship using real world example. So guys, if you look around yourself, you will see that we are surrounded with social media applications. Like we have LinkedIn, we have Twitter, then we have Facebook, and then we have Instagram. So guys, did you ever noticed that one thing which is common among all the applications? The one thing that is common among all the applications is all these applications allow us to make a post. Now the post may contain any type of content like videos, text, images, etc. But all of these applications allow us to make a post. So did you ever notice one common thing whenever you make a post on all of these applications? The one thing that is common among all the applications is they all allow us to make a post, but as a login user. They never allow us to make a post as an anonymous user, right? Isn't it? So which means that whenever we see any post, that post is always associated with a user, right? As we cannot make any post as an anonymous user, we first have to log into the system to make a post, right? So how are we going to model this relationship using UML? So here we have a post and here we have a user, right? And this is a logged in user. Now this post is entirely depends on this user. As we do not have any system of anonymous post, obviously this post depends on this user. Now using UML, we can model this type of relationship using an arrow with dotted line. So this arrow and dotted line represents that this post depends on this user, and this is how it works. So guys, there is one thing that we should aware of, that user is associated with this post and the post is dependent on user, which means if we make any change into the user object or user class, it will directly affect the post class or post object, right? And it is so obvious that if the post is dependent on user class or user object, obviously whenever we make any change to user object, it will impact or affect the post. If we delete the user, then it should be possible that the post should also be deleted, isn't it? So this type of relationship where one object depends on another object, we call it dependency relation, okay? And we represent this type of relation using arrow and dotted lines. So guys, now I hope you understood dependency relationship very well. Now let me take you to the IDE where I will show you practical demo of how we model dependency relationship using objects in object-oriented programming. So let's head over to IDE. So guys, we are on IDE. Now let's take a step forward and try to model the relationship between post and user using object-oriented programming, okay? So to do that, first we have to create a class of post and user. So let's create a class with the name user. This is the user who is associated with the post. Now this user has two properties. One is the name of the user and the type of name is string, okay? And the other one is the ID of the user. So let's make one property, and the type of this property is ID, and the type of this property is integer, and the name of this property is ID. Now let's create one constructor to initialize both the properties of user object, and we are good to go. Now user class is ready to use. Now let's create one more class with the name post, okay? Now what a post contains? Post contains content, and the type of this content, as of, for example, as of now, let's take as string. Okay, and the name of this field is content. Okay, apart from this field, we also need one field so that we can associate this post with a user. So that is going to be ID of type integer. Okay, and the name of ID is better to take user ID. Okay, user ID. Okay, now let's create a constructor to initiate both the fields. We do not want to initialize user ID using constructor here, right? So let's remove it from here. Now let's create one method to store the post into the database, okay, or into anywhere on the file or somewhere on the earth. Okay, so let's create a public method void, okay, and name the method as store. Okay, now this method takes an instance of user, right, u, and then we are assigning user ID to this user ID is equal to u dot. Okay, so first of all we need to create a method to get the user ID of this user. So let's quickly create one getter method. Okay, getter of ID. Okay, so we have getter method to get the ID of user. Now let's call user u dot get ID. So this is how we are going to assign the user ID into this user ID. Now this post is associated with this user. So we are done with both the classes. Now let's do one thing. Let's first override the toString method of post class so that we can print the content of this object onto the screen. Okay, now we are good to go. Now let's go to main class and see post in action. So let's create new instance of user first. User is equal to new user. Let's give it a name Aziz, and the ID of this user is, let's say, 1. Okay, now let's create a new instance of post. So call post is equal to new post. And what is the content of this post? Let's say hello world. Okay, this is the content. Okay, now we have to store this post into the database. So let's call post dot store. Okay, now here we have to pass the instance of user. So let's pass user. Great, there we go, and let's print this post on the screen. Okay, let's run the program and you will see that the post is printed on the screen. The content of post is hello world and the user ID is 1. So this is how we are assigning user ID to this post, right? Now if user ID is updated, then obviously it's going to directly affect the post, right? So that is why we call it as a dependency relationship, because the post object is directly dependent on user object. So guys, this is how we can model the dependency relationship between objects in object-oriented programming. So I hope by now you have good understanding of dependency relationship in object-oriented programming. So this is all from my side for this video. If you learned something valuable from this video, then hit the like button in order to make YouTube algorithm happy. Please subscribe to this channel and don't forget to click the bell icon so my friend you never miss any upcoming videos. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.